Hello, welcome back to From Soft Serve, and today's video is going to be about how I think I can prove that the Lordvessel is definitely in the manor basement, which I'm sure you've heard from numerous other videos about Dark Souls 2, that if you go into this manor in Majula, and then we go down here. Okay, well the lighting was a little bit broken there, but don't worry about that, I'll fix that. And we go down here. And then you have to get the key from the cartographer guy. But once we do that, we're going to light our torch. And in the corner over here, and there's an Estus shard right there, you will see what looks to be shards of some sort of bowl. And obviously, it looks like the Lordvessel. But in the videos I've seen, now correct me if I'm wrong, but in the videos I've seen, they tend to say, well, you know, it probably is the Lordvessel. And I decided, I was like, well, I'm pretty sure I can prove it. So let's actually go look at the model itself. But here we are in a Smith box project for Dark Souls 2. You can see we are in Majula. So let's go fly through the door. Through here, there, down here, and here you can see our little buddy, which, oh yeah, that's whenever you kill him. And so let's go fly down here, and you will see if we click it, it is M0782. So it did get its own basically model ID or map piece. That's what they call most of the things in Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 3 are map pieces. They're also objects. So anyway, M0782, let's go into the actual files of Dark Souls 2 and go find that specific model. So what we do is we go into, Dark Souls 2 Scholar for Sin, game, model, and then we go map, and then it's going to be stored inside the map BHD file. Now, of course, it's going to be stored in the Majula one, which Majula is known as M10_004. Things betwixt is M10002, so or _02. So you can kind of get the general lay of the land there. So I've already, we find it here, map BHD. You'll see BDT and BHD. BHD is the one that you actually unpack, but the actual files are stored in BDT. It's a whole thing. So anyway, you just witchy BND. It's going to unpack 1004, and we're going to go up here. And inside here, you'll see there's a lot of .flv, which if you've watched my other videos, these are known as fivers or flivers, FLVER. That's their model format. So you can see it's obviously sorted numerically. And if we go to 782, .flv.dcx, DCX is the compression they use or the format it's stored as. So let's open up M782. And let's see if we can actually, yeah, just to show that it is actually the model. Here in the model viewer, you can actually see the shards that are on the ground there. And then we go into materials, and there's two mesh IDs. And we have, the first one. They actually use, both IDs are the same. So you'll notice here it says the diffuse texture and the bump map texture. You'll notice it's using M18 plinth of fire _00.tga. Okay, so first thing to do, now that we know the actual texture name, we can actually go into the texture file itself and basically pull that up. So let's see if we go into model map, and it's going to be stored inside the actual texture files. So if we go into LM, M, and I believe it's stored in the T ones, of course. I say that as if I don't know, but so they store the textures in the T1004. So once again, 1004 is Majula. we unpack that. Just going to think about it. Okay, there we go. Now inside here are the textures for Majula. And we should see M18 plinth of fire _00. Okay, so we've unpacked that. And here we go. This is the texture for those shards on the floor in the manor basement. So now let's go to Dark Souls 1 and actually go to the Lordvessel, and then we're going to look at that model and see what we can learn there. Okay, here we are in Dark Souls 1, Prepare to Die edition. I thought I would use the classic, which would be the version that was out when Dark Souls 2 was released. And of course, we can't get to Firelink Shrine, or we can't get to the altar normally where the Lordvessel is, but we do have a little program called DS Gadget, and we should be able to actually go we should be able to warp here to the beginning of Kiln of the First Flame. And well, I think there probably is a bonfire one that was closer on the list, but we're just gonna run back up. Also, yeah, you can notice that little seam right there. I have not modded Prepare to Die edition. Oh no, it's a blocked door. Let me in. Let me in. Okay. I think it's on the list. There's definitely a list here. Okay, let's see. Undead Parish. Firelink Shrine. Firelink Altar. Got it. Nailed it. Knew that. Totally knew that was a thing. Ah, shit in my ass. I forgot the Lordvessel. Okay, hold on. Okay, hold on, guys. I know this is wonky, but this. Okay, key items. Aha, Lordvessel. By the power of the Lordvessel. Yes, cool. This is gonna be a really funny video of doing that. But shout out to DS Gadget. There's also DSR Gadget, which is for Dark Souls Remastered. Yeah, check that out. There's the Lordvessel. Is it gonna do its big beam into the sky? Yeah, it is. Okay, cool. This cutscene looks so. This was actually an accident. Obviously, I didn't plan any of this for how this looks or works. But I think actually this is the perfect way to introduce the Lordvessel. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, those portals look a little... Yeah, those portals definitely look a lot different than Dark Souls Remastered. Technically, you can skip it. Okay, so now we have the Lordvessel. Check it out. Look at the bowl. It's pretty cool. Yeah. Let's go actually look at this model. It's crazy that I did all that literally just to stare at it, and then we're going to pull up that model outside of the game. Which is kind of stupid, but I mean, that's a FromSoft serve video. Okay, so let's go into my other project, which I have a Prepare to Die edition project. And then we're going to pull up Kiln of the First Flame. Okay. Which you can see, Kiln of the First Flame actually has a sort of version of Firelink Shrine that they end up using for like the cutscenes and whatnot. So you'll notice there's actually just another Lordvessel hanging out back here, but it actually has like ash in it. Weird. There's our homies. And here is the Lordvessel. Not only that, but I can move it. And I can put it back. You'll notice its object, or its O8311. So they do have objects and map pieces. So here we have, 08311. And let's go find that. And you'll notice I still have Prepare to Die edition running in the background. So let's open up a new tab. And we'll put it next to the texture we found in Dark Souls 2, which is cool. Okay, that actually does not work. We're just going to center this on screen if everyone is cash money about that. So let's go into my Steam folder, Dark Souls Prepare to Die Edition, because I was finally able to get a legal version of Prepare to Die Edition. It was on Amazon for 20 bucks. An actual code for it. It was insane. I hope that code will come back because that was sick. And so then we're going to go map. No, actually, we're not going to go map. We're going to go object. And basically, object, the OBJ folder is where they store all of the objects. Anything that's not a map piece and is designated as an object is going to be in here. So it's basically anything that's interactable generally. And so you scroll down to the number we're looking for, which is 8311.obj and we hit witchy which I've actually already done when I was doing this earlier. We open this up, and it's got inner root underscore win32. If y'all are still with me, I appreciate you. I know this is long-winded, but I promise it's worth it. So we go into object 08311, and we see the .fliver. I call it a fiver, just because, I don't know, it sounds cooler. Let's open that with our handy-dandy Fiverr editor. And here you can see it actually loaded it right up front. We can see the model. It only has one mesh ID. And if we look under Edit Textures, M18 Plinth of Fire 00. Sounds familiar. I know. It is. And so let's go find that texture. This is going to be a full service operation here. So we have map, and we go into TX, and now we can, basically they alphabetically sort it. So we can go down to M18, and then plinth of fire underscore 00, and you'll see there's a normal map, specular map, which Dark Souls 2 did not get the specular map, interestingly enough. And so I already unpacked it, and we have up here, and wouldn't you know it, it's the same texture. They use the same texture. But what's more important about that, so obviously you can see that the Dark Souls 1 version is 512 by 512 for resolution, and then the Dark Souls 2 version is, oh, actually, no. Hold on. Oh, I just had it not zoomed in as much. Don't mind me. So it literally is the exact same texture. I was wrong when I posted about this a couple days ago. It's because it loaded in at a different size. Yeah, it's the same texture. And here's the key thing. And because by default you could say, oh, well, you know, they share textures between Dark Souls 1 and 2, which they do. There have been instances of that. But there's a key difference to this in that they did not rename it. And because you'll notice it says M18. If we go back, and because you'll see Dark Souls 1, you know, M10, M11, all that. If we go back to Dark Souls 2 and load up that project, what does M18 signify? Because that's how they use, when they're naming textures, they commonly will use the map number. So it'll be M whatever. They commonly will do that. And if we look at the list of maps for Dark Souls 2, well, you'll notice there's not an M18. M18 doesn't exist. That's not a thing. And so if we go to back to Dark Souls 1, Prepare to Die Edition, well, wouldn't you know it, M18 is Kiln of the First Flame. It is. So I think this is a case where it's very clear that they did not rename this texture. Now, you will also notice that the M18 Plinth of Fire, is it used elsewhere? Yes, it is. There are other textures that use a very similar texture, or sometimes the same one. As you'll see, the M18 Plinth of Fire was used in the Kiln of the First Flame. But I still think that's key, is that they specifically did not rename the texture. Commonly, what they would have done is M04 or M1004 Plinth of Fire or M. They could have named it literally anything else. And this is commonly what they've done with other textures, which this I did not actually plan at all, but I am actually very curious. So let's do something else. Let's test my theory. So let's actually unload Kiln of the First Flame, because I know another texture. This is from Dark Souls 1. This is from Undead Burg and the depths. So let's see. M1528. Okay, so let's go back to model, map, M1004, and then it's M1528. Okay. Let's load up that sucker pucker. Don't really like that name. I apologize. Okay, and then it's this little trim piece right here. Okay. Okay, let's go find it. Hey. Yes. Okay, cool. So here is an instance where they also renamed the texture. So this texture is commonly known as M1001 Wall 31 in Dark Souls 1. And here it is known as M0005_D. And then it ends up using Inner Wall 31 as the specular map. But it is an instance where they actually rename the texture, which is what I'm used to with Dark Souls 1 textures being used in Dark Souls 2. They will rename it. And the fact that they didn't rename the Lordvessel texture, I do think is significant. Now, it could be an accident, but I think for something like that, it seems unlikely that they would use exactly the same texture on the Lordvessel, same resolution, and leave the name of the Kiln of the First Flame map on the texture name, when they easily could have just renamed it like they renamed, as far as I've found, maybe not all of them, but the Dark Souls 1 textures that were used in Dark Souls 2, which there's not a ton, but there certainly is some. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Is it confirmed? I think it is. I think that's 100% the Lordvessel. I just don't think there's any doubt anymore if it's using the exact same texture from Dark Souls 1 that was used on the Lordvessel. So let me know what you think in the comments. I do plan to do more of these kind of little videos, because there's just a bunch of stuff I've looked at or investigated and in my off time, which I guess all of my time is off time, thanks to you guys. I am working on Dark Souls 2 again, or still, as you can see in the video. Majula got an overhaul a little bit, better AO, better lighting. There's a new sky shadow system that Dark Souls 2 lighting engine just added, so that I've been updating everything with. I've been adding roughness maps, which basically is adding specular maps to Dark Souls 2, and that is massive. So I will do, the next video will be a Dark Souls 2 mod video, showing even more of the updates, because I've just been working on it for like 10 hours a day, because I love it. I love working on Dark Souls 2. I know people would probably prefer to see Bloodborne or Dark Souls 3 for sure. I think a lot of people would prefer to watch that. There will be a Dark Souls 3 video. I am waiting for Dark Souls 3 lighting engine to get its update. Currently, the build I have of Dark Souls 3 lighting engine is from November of last year, and it's been updated so much since then, but I don't have access to that build because they're still working on it, which makes perfect sense, and they're kind of fine-tuning it. So once the new build of Dark Souls 3 lighting engine comes out, I promise I will do a giant video showing how Dark Souls 3 looks with that versus the base game. But until then, I'll be working on Dark Souls 2, and I still want to stream. You know, I got to continue my magic character, Strawberry Diesel. I'll be posting the second episode of that soon. I remembered to download it. I was like, crap, I had to download it off Twitch because I didn't record it. Because I stream on the same PC, it's the whole thing. But anyway, thank you for watching, and yeah, I'll see you on the next video. Thank you. Goodbye.